we are live. Thank you, everyone, for joining Demo Day for the February 2026 AirOps cohort. Lovely seeing everyone here today. It's been an incredible past 2 weeks. We've had so many people join from all walks of life, so many industries. Um, and honestly, it's been so eye-opening to me to see like what you guys have been able to build, the creativity you guys have imparted. And after today, you will become official AirOps certified content engineers. So thank you again for showing up and building with us. Alrighty. Without further ado, what did we cover over these past 2 weeks of cohorts? If you remember, if you're with us, this is what we've built. We first started with a competitive intelligence analyzer that analyzes our competitors' content, giving us a better understanding of where we stand based on our content and our brand. The other thing we built was a internal linking opportunity finder, which takes a look at our sitemap and finds opportunities to internally link. And then we
Okay.
dived into some workflows. Hey, Tyler, glad you could join us. Alrighty, getting back to it. We covered workflows that help with AI visibility, making sure that our brand shows up in AI search. The first workflow that we built related to this is a content refresh workflow, which takes a look at our existing content and refreshes it to drive AI visibility. Because again, AI models love to cite fresh content. And finally, last but not least, we built a content structure optimizer workflow, which takes a look at our existing content and optimizes the structure for AI search extractability. So a lot of things we covered, a lot of concepts that we've looked into. We've covered the 4 pillars of AirOps, that is brand kits, knowledge bases, workflows, and scaling that into the grid. And these are our presenters today. Let's take a look at that list. We got people from all across the board. So many submissions came through. And honestly, I had such a difficult time parsing through them and deciding like who would be able to present today. So thank you for everyone who did sign up. I promise you, your efforts did not go unnoticed. We shared them with the team. We loved to see what you guys have built. So much incredible work has gone into these builds. So what are our presenters presenting today? We are going to be covering these 4 questions for each presenter. First is, what is a problem you're trying to solve with your build? And then we're actually going to go into the workflow, see what they've built, and see what the final output looks like. And then they will talk about the impact that their workflows will have on their work. And then finally, we're going to wrap it up with how this workflow, how you've architected your knowledge, your expertise, how that will affect your work going forward. So without a further ado, Colin, are you ready to present?
Hey, yeah, let's get it.
Sweet, let's get it, Colin. All right. If you wouldn't mind sharing your screen.
Yeah, happy to. I'll just replace current share and do this. All right. Can y'all see my workflow at the moment?
Yes, we
I
sure
think you
can,
need
Colin.
to. Do you need me to zoom in at all? Maybe this will make it a
Maybe
little
just a
easier.
little bit. Yeah, that's
Okay,
great.
how's that? Okay, perfect. So the problem that I wanted to solve was I wanted to update um, just starting off about 1,500 pages. There's honestly probably more, but 1,500 that I currently had on my radar. About 20% have content, but about 80% don't. I don't have the bandwidth and resources to make good improvements myself. That's obviously a lot of content. And so I thought, okay, as we were going through this, this is the perfect tool to help me get good content, make updates to the pages at scale. And one of the challenges that I have is this site has tens of thousands of pages in the sitemap, so I couldn't just import my sitemap. There's a limit of like, depending on what plan you are, I think the highest is like 50,000 pages in your sitemap. But that constraint actually helped me in that this forced me to basically upload my knowledge base in silos so that this workflow is supposed to work on a particular silo at a time instead of just throwing 1,500 URLs that not necessarily are all connected. So that's the problem. The system, what did I build? Essentially, what I built was this process to, given my knowledge base, essentially parse the page, generate FAQs based off of a keyword, and then write that content for me. And it outputs it as HTML, well, a JSON of HTML. I'll show you the sample output after I go through the workflow. So the workflow is, the input was a knowledge base of URLs. And for me, it's going to be like a silo of related pages to some degree. And I made it kind of broad so that this could kind of work with any silo, any type of page. So it's not, particularly for specifically the website that I'm working on. But basically it takes in a knowledge base of URLs, it extracts the unique URLs, and then I have this iteration. So this is basically going to repeat all the steps for each URL. Right now, I just have it on like my friend's pickleball overgrip company as a sample. But first, it scrapes the page. It looks to try to attempt to get the best keywords from SEMrush about what the best keyword that might represent this page. It doesn't always return an output. I think if the page, for example, is not ranked in SEMrush, it's not going to have it. So then I'll have, okay, LLM, I'll pass what was kind of parsed through the web page to the LLM, the best keyword. Then I have a human review step. Is the keyword that the LLM is suggesting, or even that SEMrush is suggesting, is that the keyword I want to use for the page? In some cases it was, and in some cases it wasn't. So I can approve that. From there, it's basically gathering a number of questions to be answered for the FAQ. But for some of the pages that already have content, as I mentioned, 20%, they have content, they have questions. So this step is actually going to filter out questions that are already addressed. And that way, I'm not wasting, some edits and re-answers questions. That I'll approve of questions to remove or keep. And what was annoying as I was going through this is even if there were no questions to actually remove, it would still ask me to approve of it. So I have this conditional statement. If there's no questions to remove that it's testing, then skip the human review. And if there are, approve of it. And for the review, it tells me, okay, this is the URL I'm working on. Because as I'm going through like dozens of URLs, I might forget. It's going to show the question that I may remove, and then the reason why it suggests I remove it. And so that kind of gives me an understanding, okay, maybe this is why it should be removed or not. Then it takes a final list of questions to keep. It has another list of questions that I approve. So if it has 15 questions, I might keep 3 or 4, for example. Then there's just some cleanup stuff. It'll write some content, write the FAQs, and then also find internal links from the silo in the knowledge base to link to. So it's going to help me with internal linking as well. And then output the answers of the FAQs, the intro, and the internal links as HTML. And it essentially does that for all of the URLs in the knowledge base. And so this output is the URL in question, the keyword, and then HTML here. And then also the internal links that it actually added. And this can help me say, okay, maybe actually I don't want these internal links added, or maybe they're good, or maybe these are fine, in a way that's easy to understand. That way I don't have to parse the HTML to look for the internal links that were added. I don't know how I'm doing on time. I know I'm supposed to check the chat, but oh, what impact will this workflow have? It's going to help me basically probably deal with it, update hundreds of pages instead of dozens a week. I think quality improvements are going to be there. I've been looking at the content and there's some tweaks that I want to make, but overall the content is definitely better than what I was producing, with my own like basic LLM workflow. How will I use this going forward? Going to be updating, hundreds, if not thousands of pages. And then also, we kind of have some programmatic content, and I kind of want to use this to revamp that system as well. But there is some cleanup that I want to do, small tweaks just to make some improvements to like the HTML. And I think that covers everything. I don't know if we're doing questions or not, but if not, happy to rotate through to the next person, Wilson.
This is awesome, Colin. I love the workflow that you built, covering 100 pages, scaling up your work from a dozen, right? Incredible, incredible stuff. And I love that you have FAQs, internal linking thrown in there as well. My favorite part was how you like filtered questions based on what's been addressed, and the filtering, you're prioritizing what's actually getting pushed to the human review, so that way you're not inundating your stuff with things that don't matter. So love what you've built here, Colin. Thank you so much for presenting. Big round of applause to you. Alrighty, we don't have time for questions, so we're going to move on to our next presenter. Looks like Assad isn't on the call, but no worries. Carly, you are up next. Are you ready?
Ready. Hi.
Love it, love it. Hey, Carly, would you mind sharing your screen?
Well, I'm going to share my screen. I'm Carly. I'm a fractional content marketer, and today I'm going to show you a workflow I built that extracts insights from PDF documents and turns them into search-ready content ideas. So the problem that I kept seeing was throughout my career, but recently as I've worked with different companies in a fractional sense, I'd see that they had a bunch of content already created, like legacy content, but a lot of times it's locked in PDFs, especially for companies that have been around for a while. And it's obviously not optimized for search. This was not the intention of the content originally. So, why would it be, right? But, it can be customer research, internal strategy documents, white papers, SME thought pieces that they put together, or even gated demand gen pieces that are no longer performing that they might want to repurpose. And a lot of times this is really, really great information, and they contain really deep information about the industry and maybe like a unique point of view that the company holds. They're just not discoverable, right? And they're sitting there, they're gathering dust. So oftentimes what content marketers have to do is they have to weed through these documents to extract information or learn about the company's stance on certain issues. It's a really tedious process. And then they have to, think about what core topics are in the document, or run them through, ChatGPT. That's what I did recently with a client, is I ran all of these internal documents one by one through ChatGPT. And then you have to take the document, or take the topics that you find, put them into a keyword research tool manually. And this is just very time consuming, and you come up with a bunch of noise, right? So I created this workflow here where you input a PDF document here. I already have one loaded. I'll show you what it looks like. I just pulled this offline. I didn't want to surface anything from any of my clients right now because I didn't get permission, but it's just a global cybersecurity outlook made by Accenture. This was a publicly available online, but it wasn't, ranking for anything. And I don't think it was, obviously built for search, but it has a lot of great insight. So I plugged that in and I ran the workflow. And the first thing it does is it analyzes the PDF content and it pulls out the primary topics and themes. So these are like more high level. This in itself is pretty valuable for content research, right? And subtopics here, but then it generates SEO keywords, potential SEO keywords, what it thinks might be good SEO keywords from these topics. Then it takes the keywords, parses them into an array, and feeds them into SEMrush to determine if any of them actually have search volume. This is a step that I had to refine sort of over and over because, by their nature, a lot of these documents are going to produce zero search volume topics, right? And so if you look at it here, you can see, it found some, but that's after I had to tweak the prompt a bit to try to get it to pull the right types of keywords. And even then, I have like several steps here where it runs it through SEMrush, processes the results, and then I asked it to find the head keywords so that I could understand, okay, if this long tail keyword isn't, doesn't have any search volume, that's fine. I'm not going to trash it. Zero volume topics and keywords are great to have, but I do want to understand, if there is larger demand, if there's demand for the topic at large so that I can prioritize. So it went through, it merges the final keyword data. I know it says null here, but I asked my good friend Copilot, and he said this is just because a lot of the keywords do have zero search volume, but it appears to still be working. So I'm just gonna not be alarmed by that. And so then it merges the related keyword data, keeps the zero volume keywords, but does another search to see if it can find anything related that might have some search volume. So there's a few steps of keyword research here that I had to add in. Then it clusters said keywords so that I can understand, what fits together. Here you can kind of see what that looks like, but right at this point, it's not something we can use. But I added a manual steps after it does all of that so that I can take a look at it and say, okay, does it look like it's on the right track? Do I want to continue to move forward with this workflow? Is this producing anything that I can use? So there's a human review step that I added in. And so when I do that, I can see that, there are some here. There's some low search volume keywords. This is cybersecurity. This is a pretty niche topic. But there's some really good ones in here. Incident response plan template. Let's see, there was another good one here that I found. Oh, like cybersecurity skills gap. I know that's something that's important to these people and that they're going to be searching for. AI threat detection, generative AI security risks. So yeah, I mean, it's not a ton of search volume, but these are topics that are niche and they're very relevant to the brand, right? So that's what I want to be covering. So I approve this step. Here is the little human review step. And then it outputs this really nice little document that has the final keywords, search volume. If there's a head keyword that it found, it displays it here too, and an article title example so that I could see really easily how this might end up looking as a piece of completed content. You can kind of see what that looks like here. Nice and tidy so that you can create some content pieces in clusters together. So what's next? The impact. Oh, obviously, like I mentioned before, it saves a ton of time. It helps you understand where you might be, missing opportunities that are hyper relevant to your business, whether they have search volume or whether they don't, so that you can decide whether or not you want to create content around these really, really quickly. And then what I want to do in the future is I want to take all of this and output it into the grid so that I can analyze PDFs en masse and come up with, a very large document of potential topics, keywords that I can then go in and, maybe use information from the PDFs to add, SME quotes or yeah, just to help me kind of create a content plan. This is kind of a great first step and it saves a ton of time. That's it.
Wow. Thank you, Carly. This was a wonderful workflow. I loved that you have incorporated unlocking content from PDFs. That's amazing. I don't think I've heard of that use case, but that's a wonderful, wonderful use case. And I especially love how comprehensive you've injected that keyword research into your workflow. So what a wonderful showcase. Thank you so much, Carly, for sharing with us. All right, up next, we have Thibaut. Are you ready, Thibaut?
I am ready. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Can you see my screen?
We sure can.
Okay. Well, folks, this is Thibaut here, and the workflow I'm going to talk about is related to solving a problem, which is you're working on a product and marketing team on a product, and you want to understand how the industry is perceiving your product across all different channels. So what I wanted to do, we talked about competitive intelligence. What I wanted to do is to understand how the company I work for, the product Dia, which is a AI browser, I just joined the company. I was like, what is the industry saying about the product across all different channels? And you probably guys have used some very expensive tools to do that: customer experience, customer listening, social listening. And I built that in AirOps over the weekend. And here's what it does. So basically, the workflow starts with queries that you can put here to search on YouTube. So you would put, for instance, AI browsers, DI browsers, and this is the limit of videos that you wanna query. And then what it does next, oh, hold on, I don't know what happened. There we go. So what it does is that it's going to search the YouTube videos. And for that, I use a service. I'm not an affiliate. You can use many others. I use this thing called Apify.com. They have many scrapers that you can find. There's like gazillion for YouTube, for X, for LinkedIn, and you'll see why it's helpful, because you can do that for Reddit and all the different channels. So it gets the YouTube videos. I filter some of the fields to reduce some of the data, so it's not too big for the AI later. I go through all the videos one by one with a loop. I store the video ID in the knowledge base to make sure that every time the workflow is running every week, it only grabs the new videos that have been posted on YouTube, and it doesn't do the work on old videos that we already parsed. It extracts the YouTube video transcript from the YouTuber. It extracts the YouTube comments from the video. So all the comments, I clean all that so that it's not too much for the models, because sometimes the context windows are limited. I combine each video transcript with all the comments, and I pass that to an LLM. And here's what I ask the model. I say, you're going to analyze these video transcripts, and you're going to look at all the comments. When our product is not mentioned in transcripts, still highlight the key features that the reviewers liked. You will find comments. Give me a scorecard of the features and the browsers and what people want us to fix and what people love and the threats. And it generates this. A report that has an executive summary of all the video, which is awesome. Share that with the team. They can see the source of videos, and then the strength from all the transcripts from the YouTubers and the comments, weaknesses, the reviewers with the quotes, competitive analysis, scorecard of the strength and weaknesses, top requested fixes, strategic insights. Then what I did is I duplicated that, created the same thing for Twitter, the same thing for Reddit, and I exported that in an AirOps workflow in a Google Doc that's 25 pages and a complete report of social listening insights, something we can run every month on Slack. And I updated the prompt to also ask, and you guys are going to like this, hopefully, because we all like to talk about websites updates. I asked for website updates. So if you look at website update, I think it's here. There you go. I ask in the LLM, give me the website content implications and recommendations. And he gave me a list of all the different sections and new categories and new pages that we have to create to address customer confusion, lack of awareness of some features, and then reinforcement of some aspects such as security that came up as a weakness in our kind of like transparency. And yeah, and I share that with the team over there, and they loved it. And that was an exciting win. And thank you, AirOps.
Thank you, Thibaut. Wow, this is incredible. I love this. Like you have set up a social listening workflow across YouTube, Reddit, and X. What an amazing use case. I
Yeah, well,
love to
thanks.
see it.
And I have to say, AirOps work really well, and I use Copilot. There was quite some code involved in the parsing and all that, and Copilot did 90% of the job. So yeah, thank you guys, and I'm glad you guys like it. Happy to share it. There's the link, and hopefully it inspires you to build the same.
Love it, Thibaut. And big props to Copilot for being your coder there. Love to see it. Alrighty, up next we have Bhagesh. Bhagesh, are you ready to go?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Wilson.
Let's rock it.
Yeah, is my screen visible to you guys?
Yes,
Okay.
it sure is.
Okay, so hey everyone, my name is Bhagesh. So the challenge that I am facing, so let me introduce myself first. So I am a SEO associate in Genpact. So as a SEO associate, so my challenge I am facing over the SEO workflow process is that finding out the opportunities, new opportunities, content opportunities for the clients or the websites. So it's a simple workflow. I have just added my first step as input in form of a seed topic, that is a seed keyword that I want my website landing page to be searched, do some research for those topics, and of course to add a brand kit to analyze my website by the LLM. Second step I have added as a Google search to analyze the how Google is performing for the seed keyword or the seed topics. What are the competitors or the rankings of those seed keywords are being ranking in the SERPs, so that I can analyze their position and their keywords also to utilize their keywords in on the content plan, just to showcase that my plan is absolutely fine as I have planned. Next step, I have added the detailed research I have need for the keyword to be planned on the particular topics. So I selected the top three competitors that are be ranking in the Google search. So those competitors I have selected in the Google, not in Google, SEMrush organic search keyword tools. So the tool actually extract all the keywords they have been ranking for top three competitors. And I have added the next step as a knowledge base where my existing uh, campaign, my existing website data have been stored. So it's at the first part I have just covered the gathering all the data where what I needed to be perform my workflow and showcase the output to be needed. And at last, the SEMrush keyword magic tool just to fill up all the missing keywords that are be needed for the specific that are be needed for specific seed topics to be analyzed. Then at last, I've just added the LLM prompt to analyze those data and create a proper content plan structure, which actually provides me in a systematic manner in form of a topics and the keywords the search volume and intent. So if I show you the output of the structure, here's the one example of the output of my content plan. Here we go. So this is a proper content plan for a C topic I have been chosen as a chemical litigation. And as per the analysis, what my website topics have been missing over there. So those are the systematically structured topic are being given by the tool itself. Everything like the primary keyword which I want to target for that particular topic, and the search volume and the intent just to identify what type of users are being actually looking for a particular topic. Not only that, but after analyzing the content plan, I just added a human review just to check that the results have been provided perfectly or not. And after that, I've just created a content brief that particular plan has been successfully like reviewed properly, and to create a content brief, to create a proper article of that particular plan, utilize those keywords, and also have added the competitors to be target in form of our direct competitors, and as well as the Google search competitors. Those have been ranking for a particular seed keyword, and that's it. After that, I've just added the one more prompt just to create an article as per the content brief. And yeah, human review is the like the last part just to finalize that particular content has been successfully created, and we can utilize those content to publish in the website. Just to give a proper output of the content brief. So here's the content brief, which is created in the bulk of the topics. Here we go. Proper instructions have been added in the content brief in form of the like the title of the topic, keywords that need to be utilized, secondary keywords. The intent should be like addressed in the content itself, targeted audience, and the competitor analysis. Everything has been added over here with the proper content structure as per the LLM algorithms, the tabular formatted content and everything. And at last, I will show you the final content that has been generated by the tool.
Yes, while that's
Okay,
loading, can you tell us the impact this workflow has had?
yeah. So, so the whatever the structure, scalable structure I've shown, it as a if anyone in the SEO who's working, so it takes a lot of time to do research. Normally, it takes to create a proper content plan and create a content brief, and then structure creating content for those referring the content brief. Normally, it takes it 2 or 3 days, and maybe for as per the creating the content structure of cluster for those for a particular state topic. So after working on this tool and creating a workflow and running this workflow as per the adding the LLM prompts and everything, it took hardly to me generate around 10 minutes. So within 10 minutes, it's done everything step by step, creating a content plan, then content brief, then final output as given as an article. Everything is done. So it's like a plug-in and play game, and we get an article within hand. Just copy and publish. Everything just need to do normal on-page SEO, and that's it.
Love it, Bhagyesh. What a great showcase of codifying an existing process that I'm sure you do day to day and automating
Yeah,
that like within AirOps, end to end, drawing in keyword research, competitor analysis, topic clustering, and then outputting not only a content structure, not only a content brief, taking those two things and then actually producing content from that. Love to see it, Bhagesh. Thank you so much for sharing. Big
Thank
round
you
of
so
applause
much.
to you. Alrighty. Next on the docket, we have Natalie. Natalie, you ready to go?
Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, perfect. So I want to create an SEO article outline generator. So I work in-house marketing at an agency where, sometimes a topic will randomly come up in a call with a prospect or a client, or someone on our team is working on something, or a policy changes that impacts our clients, whatever it may be. And all of a sudden we need a resource on that. So I have the topic, but now I need to go and do the keyword research and build an actual outline for that article. And so I built a workflow that pretty much does all of that for me once I have that topic. So I'm starting with the input here. I'm just putting in my topic and then, of course, connecting my brand kit to it as well. My next step is the keyword research. So I'm asking for related keywords up to 100, which was the max allowed. And then I added an LM step that would select the target keywords for me. So it's actually looking at what is the topic, what makes sense just related to that topic. And then, of course, I wanted to actually avoid some that didn't have any search volume. There was some discourse in the chat here on Zoom a little earlier when Carly was presenting that there is value in that. So could be worth adjusting this down the road. But for now, I just have it as ignore any with 0 search volume. I'm also looking at ones with difficulty of below 50, so 49 and below, just to be realistic about the, how we can actually rank for them, because our DA is maybe 23 or something like that. And then we're focusing on informational keywords as well, since this is for an article. I'm asking it for also 3 to 20 keywords total. The first time I ran this, it just gave me 1, and I wanted some more flexibility in the amount that I could target. And then I added a human review step here underneath. So the first time it actually gave me a keyword that was like Amazon PDF. And I didn't want to target that because then I would have to make a PDF. So I added a human review step where I asked it to give me the primary keyword, give me the secondary keywords, and then let me select which ones I actually want to move forward with. So a couple times when I've run this, I've actually swapped out one of the secondary keywords for the primary keyword because I liked one of them better. Maybe some of the secondary I don't even choose to move forward with targeting at all for whatever reason. I just didn't think that they were entirely relevant or something that our company could necessarily speak to. So in this step, I'm choosing what I actually want to target in the article. And then I added this step here to analyze the search results page for that primary keyword, just to make sure that, the article, the way I'm structuring it, all the subtopics that I'm targeting, they are things that are already ranking for that primary keyword. And so that kind of increases my chances of showing up. Now, I did end up adding another step here to look at the search results 11 through 30, just so I could see more of what was already ranking. Our agency works with brands on Amazon, so a lot of times Amazon itself will dominate like half of the first search results page, but I ended up turning this step off just because I wasn't really satisfied with the result that I got the first time. So could be worth playing around more with that one. But for now, I'm just looking at the first 10 search results for that primary keyword. And then the last step here is generate the article outline. So of course, tying in my brand kit, the topic, the keywords that I did want to move forward with, and then that SERP analysis. And I've asked it for a 1-sentence summary, which is really helpful for an internal review that we do after the outline before the article is actually written. And some title ideas. Give me them in, under 62 characters so that they're not cut off on the search results page. And then the actual outline itself, introduction, body sections, and conclusion. So I'll show you over here one of the outputs of my title ideas and my outline, which it ended up being very, very, very long. So going back to my workflow, I saw here estimated word count per section, 300 to 500 words. I thought that sounds good for the article, not realizing, of course, it's for the outline step. So I'll probably go in and reduce that word count, but that is a very, very long outline. And then it also includes all of my keywords here and kind of where I should target them in that. So I have some other examples for other article topics that were related that I targeted. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This will save me a ton of time for when someone says, hey, here's a topic that you should have a resource on, do an article on it, and it will do all the keyword research for me and help with building that outline. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a big impact. I think down the line, I could even add a step here, write the full article. But for right now, I just have it as the outline.
Wow, what a lovely, clean workflow that generates an article outline based on whoever comes to you with a topic, right? I love to see it. I love how you weaved in that prioritization logic into your prompts. Especially loved how you dived in onto this prompts. Love the prompt structure, really keeping it to that request context requirements and defining exactly what that output looks like. So wonderful work there, Natalie. Love to see it. And I'm excited to see how you build this out even further. Alrighty. Next up, we have VJ, who I believe is online. Are you here?
Hey, hi Wilson.
Hey. All right. Floor is yours,
Uh,
VJ.
Thank you so much, Wilson. Please excuse me. I've seemed to have the 50th time that my kid has gotten a cold, so from the daycare, so my voice might break a little bit. Wilson, I want to thank you first for demonstrating so much patience as you did. All of us had so many questions as we went through this process. So really wanted to acknowledge how much we appreciate, or I appreciate. I speak for I think everyone's behalf. All the great help you provided. So I'll dive right straight into it. I think the only thing you need to know about me in the context of this work is that I'm actually one of those dinosaurs who worked at a print newsroom once, right? And I have an understanding of how much time it takes, like an editorial process takes when you're in print. Digital helped a little bit, but what's the next step up from that, right? Is it possible to have an AI first editorial completely? So, I went about researching this, and I had an idea of having different, AI models who have their unique personality uh, and the structure of a news organization. So one of them is an editor-in-chief of the organization. There are three reporters. They have their own beat. They have their own personalities, tone, and style. So this is a summary of, I think this page is just a quick summary of what in terms of time savings on time spent on 1,000 words, how fast are some of the latest models at doing this work compared to human work. Um, I think that one thing that's important to mention is that in my workflow, there is a human in the loop step, which is to ensure that, there is still, I strongly believe, having come from that background, that there is a level of detail that models, even the most advanced models, can miss. And therefore, you need that final review step, human in the loop step. So I'll dive into my workflow. It looks like I've apparently just still been building this in the meanwhile, as I was watching the other presentations. So the way this works is in my cloud code, in my cloud account, I created the structure for this new news organization, and I had to prepare a detailed brief, right? So I took that brief and I gave Copilot the instructions to build this thing. Because I usually tend to find the shortest possible route to getting something done. If I required a level of precision that this doesn't offer, I would probably do these steps manually. But my experience with this has been pretty amazing. I initially tried to do cloud co-work, but then I just had a light bulb go on and say, hey, we've been shown Copilot. Why don't I just go and go straight in and have Copilot do this? So the way this works is there's a search step in the beginning where all three reporters who have their own beats are scanning last week's news articles to find the right stories that are worth highlighting. So, there's senior reporter that reports on AI development, one that reports on the impact of this disruption, layoffs, workforce displacement, ethics. There's a third one that covers security incidents and breaches. I think I missed the point where in mentioning that these agents in their personality are supposed to have a level of self-awareness. They know that they're part of the equation and the problem that they are reporting on. I think that brings an interesting mix of irony into their results. So I'll show you a quick example of I did a quick run before this started to see what Danny Bite, who is the reporter for the wiring, had, which is she picked up Anthropic's, chose to highlight Anthropic's announcement about their $30 billion funding. And if I just quickly read the first paragraph, you'll get a sense of the kind of personality that she has and the skepticism that she has towards valuations. Anthropic announced Thursday that it has raised 30 billion in funding. The Series G round represents the second largest private financing round in history. The 5-year-old AI startup, which makes cloud, now has a valuation higher than the GDP of 170 countries. So, I mean, this is the type of detail that I would fact check. And, there is a fact checking stage also later that comes into play. But how this workflow progresses is that so the three searches, each of the reporters get their own brief, and then they use the context and the personality that they've been given to generate a story. These stories get filed. When I have the connection working for Beehive, they're going to be filed, but without the newsletter send, right? The newsletter send is going to be done by the editor-in-chief, and his role is to look at all the stories, synthesize, make notes on what to prioritize, and which parts to highlight and which not to highlight, and then anyone who subscribes to this newsletter can click on the link and go read those individual stories. There's a human review phase that I mentioned where everything is done after a workflow is done, and then that's where I come in and I look at the output that is generated and proofread it myself. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the challenge that I had has been just debugging edge cases where there's a build and then there's review. I start looking at the output. I realize that something's off, something's missing, some context that was essential is not present. I think another one was that it's I don't see an option here to import files, so I had to take all of that the package I created and then copy paste it here in chat, which is not the best format for Copilot to understand the information that is being provided. But all in all, I think it did excellent work. It just autonomously built the whole thing, understood the concept, understood the workflow that is required, understood the fact that this is all going to be pushed to Beehive, all these articles. I think in terms of the insight, what I had was when working with these newer technology where you have multiple access to multiple LLM models, it's better not to do half steps, right? Unless the workflow that you're working on requires a really deep level of precision where you're convinced that it can't be built by, or at least an early draft can't be built by a Copilot. I think my recommendation is that always start with a really good spec and have the Copilot have a first go at the draft. Yeah, that's my presentation. I'll stop here.
Wow. Thank you, BJ. This is an incredible workflow and a use case that is very unique. I've never seen anything like this. So essentially what you've done is you've created a little mini news organization in this workflow here with AI reporters looking at like what's conversations, what stories are coming up, and there's even like a little editorial desk, which I love to see as a step. So that was awesome, and I also appreciated the insights that you've given here on giving full context to models and working with modal platforms such as AirOps. So wonderful job there. Thank you, VJ, for sharing with us what you've built and what you've learned. Alrighty. Up next, we have Assad. Assad, are you here and ready?
You listen me?
Yes, I can hear you. All right. Feel free to share your screen, and
So,
the floor is yours.
yes. Let me share my screen. So, is my screen show up?
Yes,
You guys see my screen?
looks good.
Okay. So, this is a workflow I built. It's actually academic research paper assistant. So, the purpose of this workflow is that to write the research papers in few hours, not in 4 to 5 days. This is the challenge I face myself. So, here's the steps. First step is to do a topic research and trend analysis here. So here, here is all the research by all like references, citations, and then so here after all the research, then is structure all the research like converting it to outline into outline. So here it is. Abstract, introduction, and all other things. Okay, so then it will find the reference finder and bibliography. Okay, so here it is. So complete comprehensive. Let me go through. Okay, so I need the article that is all around 3,500 to 4,000 words. Okay, so to get the output, I have divided the sections like one section is introduction section, and then the main content section like body, and then the debates and critical analysis of the relevant topic, and then the future directions. Okay, so and lastly the conclusion. Okay, so then I merge all the sections with Python code. Let me. Okay, so here it is, all the Python code where I merge the sections. You guys see it?
Yep.
So here is the introduction. Like you can see, it's very long. Okay. So then to check the quality, like it's complete the word length and references. Let me show you the output, guys. Okay. So here's the word count that is around 11,021. Okay, so it's actually not like this shows the critical analysis of the references, like it's accurate or not. Okay, so citations, total citation or references, that is 33. Introduction has introduction, yes, true. Conclusion, true. References, true. And total sections is 44. Okay, let me check. If the article quality is good, then it will pass it, and here's the output. If not, then it will give the article enhancements, like what you need to enhance it. Okay, so here it is. And first of all thanks to Terence, I have joined his sessions, and Angie to teach us all about it, AirOps. Okay, so here's the final output. So here it is. All the research based. So the impact is that before I write one single article in like 3 to 4 days, and now I can write 2 to 3 articles in like 3 to 4 hours, because there's a lot of steps, so that's why it takes times to generate it. So yeah, here it is. Thank you guys.
Very cool, Assad. Yeah, very cool use case as well, pulling together research for an academic paper. Loved seeing that. It was a great reminder for me of what the power of AI and AirOps could have done for me back in undergrad. So love to see it. Also loved how you incorporated the grading and like determining what gets pulled into your human in the loop. So love to see it. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Assad, for sharing.
Thank you.
Alrighty, last but definitely not least, we have Holly. Holly, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. So I'm a freelance content marketer, and I do a lot of content refreshes these days. And what I wanted to do is build a workflow that helps us prioritize which content pieces to refresh and when. So I'm just going to turn on my screen sharing. Is that working?
I'm not seeing it just yet, Holly.
Okay. Okay, there we go. That should be working.
Yes, we see it.
Okay, perfect. So the way that this workflow functions is I've just used one URL for the input for the case of this example, but you could insert multiple URLs. And it's a way of systemizing the thinking behind why a URL should be medium priority, low priority, or high priority, because I've realized from my work refreshing that we don't always necessarily agree on why a piece should be refreshed. Some people might want to refresh a piece because it hasn't been touched in 2 years. It might be because you realize that you're writing about your product in a different way compared to a year ago, or that your style guide has changed, or that you're not appearing in LLMs. And I think that those softer signals, like that your content no longer reflects the way you're talking about your product, or your style guide has changed, is quite hard to score for. And all of these things together are just hard to hold in your head at once. So I wanted this workflow to score URLs based on all of those different components. So what we've got here is, first of all, we're scraping the page, and then we're pulling out the keywords. We've got like an on-page SEO analysis, so evaluating all different components of on-page SEO. We've also got a power agent evaluating its readiness for AEO. And then in our LLM prompt, I'm asking it to do an evaluation and content quality assessment. And this, to me, is where the workflow gets interesting, because it's scoring all of those different components we've mentioned earlier, both like the kind of harder signals and the softer signals around brand tone, or using guidance from the brand kit. And then based on that score, we end up ending in a conditional flow. So if the URL triggers a high or medium priority refresh score, we will then go through the second part of the workflow, which is like a refresh execution workflow. And if you're wondering why it would trigger a medium or high priority score, basically to be high priority, there need to be like 3 or more conditions met. So for example, it's ranking at number 20 or worse. It's not showing up in LLMs, like it's got poor readiness for that. There's loads of outdated data, there's broken links, this sort of thing. If it's medium priority, it's got to trigger it's got to match 2 conditions. And if it's low priority, it's generally ranking well. And those conditions like broken links and outdated content aren't being matched. So then we go through, if we're saying that this piece is medium priority, we go through the refresh execution flow, and we've got a bunch of power agents kind of working their magic. So we've got one refreshing for brand alignment. We've got one doing an AO visibility refresh. We've got internal links being added. And then at the end, we've got it being compiled into a readable draft and of course, a human review. And I've put this into a grid because I find it easier to see the different scores within a grid. So we've got a column to show its average position. We've got a column to show if there's any broken or outdated links. We've got AEO readiness, etc. And then in a different sheet, I've added the URL and the refreshed article because I found it kind of easier to look at the article within the grid without the distractions of the workflow happening and the other columns. And then within here, we can edit it. I'd be looking at putting it into a Google Docs. And the impact of this workflow is it's something that I would potentially share with clients to help us score large content programs. You know, maybe they already have 100 blog posts and they need to prioritize what to refresh first. I think it would be incredibly helpful for that. And maybe I'd break it down into 2 separate workflows. That would be the next stage for me.
Wow, this is super cool, Holly. So you built a content refresh priority dashboard essentially in the grid for a whole host of clients, it seems, scoring on things like style guides, average positioning. Love that. Love what you've built here. And I love especially how you incorporated all of these power agents. If you guys didn't know already, power agents are essentially pre-built workflows vetted by the top experts here at AirOps, and loved how you've employed them here as a team specializing in different fields. Love to see it, Holly. Thank you so much for sharing. And with that, I'm going to take the screen here as we are at time, but just wanted to give one big last thanks to all of our presenters today. Oh man, like there were so many good use cases that came in. Wish we could have covered everything today at demo day. But with that, you guys are now official content engineers certified by AirOps. And with that, that comes with a few perks. By submitting your workflow, you're going to get $500 in AirOps credits for your personal workspace. You also get access to our LinkedIn group of previous alumni who have graduated as content engineers who are currently using AirOps every day in their work, providing insights, strategy, cool wins, and learnings. So be on the lookout for that. And if you're joining live from YouTube and you're interested in how AirOps and our cohorts can help with your AI search strategy, please scan this QR code here and we can learn a little bit more about your use case, what you're hoping to solve. And with that, a big thank you to everyone who showed up today. Amazing work. And thank you so much for your time, commitment, and energy that you brought to this cohort. You made it a great one. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have
Thanks
a
so much,
wonderful.
Wilson.
Thank
Thank-
you.
Thank you, Wilson.
Well done. Congrats, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How long does it
Thank
take
you,
to get the
Wilson.
certification?
Thank you,
Terrence.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you,
Sorry,
Wilson and team.
there was a question there. I can go ahead and answer that.
For the certifications, do you send those via email? Like we like post them on LinkedIn and stuff?
Yeah. So again,